of the ideas that I talk about are very, very important. The cards that I put up, the people I put up as cards, the entities I put up as cards, and the institutions I put up as cards, the countries I put up as cards, and the ideas and the current events I put up as cards, and the cards are spinning and they're spinning like, and it's making this sound like playing cards inside the wheels of a wheelchair, and the wheelchair wheels are spinning and spinning. They're spinning in the opposite direction, and so the wheelchair is spinning, and it's like it's spinning so supermassively fast, and it's like alarmingly. It's spinning the sky. Wheelchair is spinning the sky, and now it's not stable in any way, but it's so fast compared to the way everything else is moving that it has a stably measurable, the way it rapes everybody. And so it's disabling the able in order to enable the disabled. And that's wheelchair studies. That a lot of universities now have a wheelchair studies program. It's called full disability studies. And you have to honor the degree. You have to give it parity and equity, as we say, because everything's in it that way. Full equality. And so DEI, JEDI, DEI, HPJ. Mathew Ursua. And so we're going to have full wheelchair studies. But everything I talk about, I was just talking about back there on the way from 12th and Imperial, these beautiful Muslim girls that they're bringing in, and they've got the hijab like Christiana Manpour. You see them a lot in El Cajon especially. And it's like, I'm thinking to myself, so there was this event at the park along the Green Line. Actually, I think it was before Union Grantville. It might have been, I will define before Union Grantville, depends on which direction you're going. There's the park there. And people walk their dogs there and they play and everything. But there was this one day, I think last weekend, or it might have been Friday, there was an Islamic event. And so there were some women there that were in burqas. And so it's an interesting thing to see in the United States. And the way I look at it is, it raises, the questions that it raises is, so you will understand the way I look at it from the other question it raises in order to see if my, I guess, social theory on it or my hypothesis that it's not out of this world per se, because it has to do with, but that these women in burqas, what if they're the most beautiful, and that there's some kind of, because I don't know anything about Islamic culture, Quranic world, but this helps you learn it, because the wheelchair is spinning and you've got all these questions in the wheelchair, and it's spinning and spinning, and it's sucking or organically or rather osmotically, it's sucking in every way. It's sucking information, it's sucking things from the ether, and you're learning all these things. You're calling professors in Abu Dhabi, and you're calling professors in Dubai, Arab Emirates, Qatar. You're calling people that are next to these people. You're calling professors that know about other parts of the Arab world. You're compiling all of this information, and they have access to these people. And so they know, because money plays a role too. So what Islamic culture is and how it outpictures, not only in terms of a person's interactions with the social institutions, but in the psychological landscape of how their worldview. And of course, that's inseparable from that. And so, like for instance, if women are more, and people in general, kept inside to where things are more private. You have a small, that's what the psychologists wanted for all of us. Five intimate friendships. I don't like that. That's not enough people to suck money from. I got to go get money off all these people. 5 people keeps you socially stable. I don't like stability. I like wheelchair spinning. Yep, I like crazy. I don't like stability. So some people like stability. I'm against stability, because for someone like me that needs more from life, like I'm always talking about, stability creates a problem, because you have a thought like that, and then that now is beyond a threshold where that's schizophrenic. You have a thought like that, you tell your friends you have a thought like, I want to own a skyscraper, and you immediately are taken to a mental institution. And I don't like the cold clinical stability of we agree that this is how life should be. Because how could you have children, and so I guess you could say a lot of parents are delusional. It's something to think about. But how could you have children knowing that you're bearing sons and daughters into slavery, and that Donald Trump, when he has children, or Elon Musk, and he has like 9 kids or something like that, he's just, go for it, man. I've got all this money, I'm not even going to hold back. And their children are not going to have to be slaves. You see Elon Musk's son with Donald Trump in the Oval Office, and because there's a lot of stories there about the on again, off again, on again, off again, but just seeing the footage of that, 2 friends on a perfect day, and bringing your son to meet the president, who's a very rich man. That's not what my son's going to get to have. So that's the dynamic there. But okay, so the most my hypothesis is that somewhere, because everything I say is true, the way I put the cards up, everything I say is true, maybe on another planet. That compass beetle was on another planet. But it's true somewhere. And where is it true? Becomes the question, right? So another way to kind of reverse engineer to look at sociological research, you can come up with anything. It's probably true somewhere. And it's probably true a lot closer to where you're at than on another planet, as it turns out. That's the thing with it. So my theory is women that wear the burqas, now in some places all of them have to, but that when you have a society where it's kind of it's a choice thing, it's not about Sunni, Shiite, or where they're from. That's my potential theory on it, or the way it could be. It's my hypothesis about it. That's what I want to find out. And you learn everything about things by researching and talking to people. That they wear that because they're so gorgeous. And that so you have this other question that emerges, that what exactly is in the Quranic world, in Quranic society, or in their practice of Islam, their duty to other women, right, as wives and as women and as mothers, that there could be, because it comes down to money at the end of the day, and because there's things that are just embedded into the psychological landscape, and the difference between conscious and subconscious, we're all victims of our birth into a society. So they may or may not know the degree to which the reason, so there's manifest and latent functions. But so could a latent function of the burqa be that society kind of nudges them, or they know they're very beautiful compared to their sisters? Is there this kind of sisterhood in Islam? I don't know. But they know that maybe, this is my hypothesis, and we have this crazy white light spinning wheelchair hypothesis, and then as things don't match up with it, well, the wheels have to change as they're moving and spinning around, and we end up with something a little more chiseled down that's closer to reality where you're looking at it. But of course, that is true somewhere. Just take the map, overlay everything, move Germany over Texas, and move Texas over France, and what's the same, what's different. You learn a lot from it. That maybe they know they're beautiful. They know that if in their culture they had swimsuit modeling calendars, and they had Sports Illustrated, and if one of them were the Bar Raffaele, let's say, Bar Raffaele is going to be in Sports Illustrated, that it would be her. And the fact no one's allowed to see how beautiful that woman is, that these are the most beautiful wives in this culture. No one else is allowed to see how beautiful that woman is. A lot like if we were to decide by edict one day, no one's allowed to know how much property someone owned, like it's in Germany, where people don't look at that kind of stuff. But in America, that's Stacy's mom over there. But no one's allowed to see it, and that's just not something that's kind of in alignment with the way people that are after capital and think of capital that way. If we get to know where the concentrations of wealth are, who Stacy's mom is, so that's Stacy, you better hook up with Stacy because her mom has. That's what we want to know. That's stuff we want. I think kids in elementary and in middle school, this is what I was thinking. It's just that when I started medicating me, I had ideas I couldn't act on because it destroyed my fight or flight reaction. So one of my ideas that I had that I was dreaming of and couldn't even talk to people about was writing letters to people with concentrations of wealth in, apartment buildings in La Mesa kind of stuff. Bay Area too. Seattle. Families that owned a lot of property and had a lot of net worth. Concentrations of wealth, didn't own just one house that they were paying a mortgage on, kind of stuff, and say, I want to marry one of your daughters. That's one of the ideas I had in high school. But because I was medicated, it prevented me from doing that kind of ingenuity and that kind of forward thinking. It put it in a dream. That's an afterthought. That's the number one thing I should have been doing. Women aren't property. Okay. And you could say, well, if you think about it that way, we won't have any property.